Hey, what's up YouTube, Casualty here, and we are back on day 33. As we expected, we have jumped into the lead, just in front of France, and that is hopefully going to continue to rise. So we have a look at the battle stats against Egypt. We can see that it's actually pretty close. It got pretty close before as well, but we have been able to even it out a little bit. So, if we have a look at what's happening at the moment, I'm actually preparing for a nuclear strike. So down here at the moment, this is vital to his defense. It's stopping me from progressing a fair amount of my forces forwards, although I have flanked around the sides, and ultimately defending this point is now pointless unless he wants to counterattack. While I'm surprised that he didn't exploit the fact that I've got nothing up this path here and go up there, and the quickest way back there for me would have been with this unit here. He hasn't done that, luckily, so it's all good. So in preparation for the nuclear strike, I am retreating my railguns and a large majority of the troops. Now, because this is a moving target, it's not vulnerable to rockets, and considering it's on home ground and it's going to take the rocket roughly half an hour to get here, this can cover a lot of ground. As you can see here, it can go pretty far in 20 minutes, so in half an hour it could jump out of the range of the rockets. So I need some volunteers, some commandos, the 4th Commando Battalion to die and sacrifice themselves. Well, actually I say sacrifice, but they're not really sacrificing themselves. It's like I'm kind of sacrificing them for themselves. So they don't have a say in the matter. Either way, they're going to die. So for this to be successful, I have to attack that and I have to stall it. And I'm not planning on these units living. They're gonna die. But the only reason I didn't send anything else is because infantry might take too long to get there, and because commandos have a decent amount of hit points with 25 hit points each, they should be able to survive, well, at least one of them should be able to survive the initial attack. So if we have a look at this, they're performing at 80% at the moment, and 9 times 5 is 45, so at 80%, they're roughly doing, I'm just going to take a guess here, 40 damage, that seems about right. Okay, slightly less than 40 damage per attack. And, okay, so maybe I need to send a few more units forwards. Kind of fucked this up, I didn't do the maths. Do the maths, guys, always do the math. So, there's a good chance here that when I actually go in and attack, these units are going to be defeated, although judging by the large size of the stack, there is a chance that the commandos might survive, especially if this is actually attacking. Yeah, so if I leave this unit to attack, I think I might stand a pretty good chance. And if they do die, I'll just send in a larger sacrifice. Or I might just actually add an extra commando to it now. So, one more commando. And I'll just retreat back a bit. What? Ah, that didn't make much sense. Okay, let's try that again. Get all that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to split it. We're going to focus on that unit there, and we're going to split it into 3. And then I need 3 to march up to there. I'll say 15 minutes, I'll get close, and then hopefully that'll be enough. So I've got this unit flanking around the side, and it's just on the move. It's already fired its artillery barrage, so there's no point it standing around, so it's going to move forwards for a little longer. Same with this too, I fired it off recently, so if we look back at that, you can see that... Wow, okay, that's interesting. How did the railgun die? I'm confused. That couldn't fire. That couldn't fire. Because it's still got 42 seconds left. That can't fire because it's moving. Oh well. Doesn't matter. So, I guess we'll get that to fire at that when that's ready. In 30 seconds. And hopefully we can wipe out one of those. Although the nuclear blast will probably get them as well. So, why am I using a rocket here? Well, because I don't have any other normal rockets in the region, and this is the only one. Good old Spark. I was going to use this to start the war when it eventually came round to it, but Egypt started it before I could use a Spark to ignite the vicious war. So although I was unprepared for the conflict and I was in a defensive posture, we have made a fair bit of ground. If we come up here, we can see that we've made a fair bit of ground. Although these provinces here have rebelled to Finland, we are going to get them back one way or another. Finland, if you're watching this, take note of that, as I am going to get these provinces back whether you want to give them to me or not. Okay, and we're about to capture some more provinces down here, really boosting our oil production at the moment, and when we had these, it was pretty good. And we still want to continue to build this so that we can start to build a more mechanized army for the late game. Now that nuclear rockets and bombers and interceptors are all at max level, speed is really important. So we have a look at the research at the moment. I'm researching level 2 SBAA, my aircraft carriers. I really want to finish off my navy and then I don't have to focus on that ever again. But I also want to start investing into medium tanks, tank destroyers, SB artillery, and I want to get motorized or mechanized or motorized infantry, but I doubt I'll get all of that done before day change. I mean the end of the game. So we're taking quite a few casualties, but I have started producing our troops. You'll notice our food is negative. That's because I've opened nearly all of my barracks to produce troops. So this is roughly 30,000 manpowers worth of troops, and there's a fair bit there. And the reason why we need this is we've taken a lot of casualties. I've already had to retire a few groups and send them back. So if we have a look at this group, for example, this group, although I've given it reinforcements, took a heavy hammering during the initial assault. It was at the front and took a lot of hits from artillery and his tactical bombers initially. And while I have sent it back and I'm slowly regrouping it and hoping that I can get it in a better position to return to combat, I don't see that happening anytime soon. I've also had to retire 8 aircraft due to an error on my part, although I'll give it good timing to Egypt on that one. I don't think he intended to do it, but I'll give it to him. So I sent these aircrafts in groups of 2, one interceptor and one tactical bomber, to attack the railgun that was down here. Now it just so happens that although the railgun was separate by itself, as my tactical bombers were attacking it, this group here passed through the exact same location at the exact same time, so they were occupying the same space. So when I did attack, I got hit by quite a bit of anti-air. And I was really surprised when I came back and I saw my tactical bombers and interceptors nearly destroyed. 2 of these were brand new today as well, which kind of sucked. So I'm retiring these for now, and I'm hoping to slowly build them back. When you think about it, and you have a look at the research tab, and you have a look at tactical bombers, for example, it's not worth the 125 oil to just send them to their deaths and rebuild them. Instead, it's worth retiring them for 12 days and letting them get back up to full health. That way I don't have to pay the manpower, the goods, the money, just a little bit of food and a little bit of oil, and they will eventually get back up to standard. And to be honest, if I put these in a place with high morale, it may only take 4 to 5 days to get them back up to a standard where they're usable again. But I'm keeping them down here in the region because I still need to be able to scout out and spot enemy ships, vessels, troops, that sort of stuff. So over here as well, we can see that this group has managed to make it through and is slowly moving forwards, and same with this group here. This group took a lot of damage, and if it wasn't the unit that had successfully flanked, I would have sent it back to reman and heal it up. But it's kind of important to draw his attention away from up here. So we're going to move down and we're going to capture here, and our aim is to get to a choke point. So a choke point like up here, or if we have to, I'll settle for this right here. 1, 2, 3, and then regroup, reorganize our troops, and send them forwards. I'm going to do the same up here. Once I get to Damascus and here, I'm going to reorganize my troops and better equip them for the fight ahead. So, with credit to Egypt, he has done a pretty good job so far. Although we were not in an offensive stance when this happened, we still had a pretty big upper hand, and he has handled the situation pretty well. As you can see in the stats, we have taken nearly 1-to-1 casualties, and that is pretty good considering the advantage we had. Now, it would be a good advantage if I didn't start the battle with already superior numbers. So with that said, I still have the advantage, but I'm going to need to produce troops to carry on the fight. We did initially take out a lot of his tactical bombers with rocket fighters and interceptors, and the rocket fighters have earned my respect now. They're not that bad. They seem to perform fine. Either that or the interceptors were doing all the work, which it might actually be the case. But the rocket fighters have nonetheless been pretty useful. So I'll be back later on when we store this unit and we launch the nuke.